Fellas, fellas, ladies and gentlemen, stay with me on this. There is a live feed, obviously. So the question is, what happens to that live feed? That live feed gets sent out to, we know as of now, at least three people. That live feed gets sent out to the person in the control booth, not the commentary booth, the control room, let's say. Okay, and I believe his name is Taylor. I think Taylor is in charge of production of the entire event. He gets the live feed. He has to get the live feed because he's the one that does the uh, overlay, the changes. You know, the 8 9 of spades. You remember the specific event where the cards were being read wrong, and he had to put the 8 9 overlay onto the um, onto um, the video. So when the people in the booth comment on it 30 minutes later, they're commenting on accurate information. So, guy in the control booth, he gets a live feed. Has to. In fact, it's my argument he's the only one that should even be getting a live feed. And in the future, um, if live streaming poker is going to be a thing, then I say let the person, let there be one person in a control room who gets the live feed and nobody else, and he is responsible for if there's any cheating discovered, then it has to come out of God's mouth into the cheater's ear, right? Because there's only one person at that point who should ever be able to have a feed. Because my argument is, why does the host of a game need a feed? Why does he need to have the whole cards? I mean, that's the equivalent of you host a home game that you don't play in, and you invite you know your regular players over to play in your home game, and for some reason, as your host, um, I have privy to everybody's hole cards. I have a table with cameras with an RFID reader, and I get sent the information of everybody's hole cards while the game is going on. Who's going to play in my home game? Who's going to play in my home game if the players know that the host gets everybody's hole cards? Because if that's the case, I am cheating. There's no reason that I need hole card information. There's no reason. There's no purpose in that. You know, if there's a decision that needs to be made, and I'm acting as a floor man, and it's my home game, and somebody has a question, hey, I don't like the way that this play unfolded, then I'm gonna make a decision on what happens in that situation. I don't need the whole cards. Give me a verbal explanation of what happened, and I'll make a ruling on it. If people think that my rulings are unfair or tilted towards one particular player, then people are going to stop playing in my home game. Word's going to get out that my home game is fishy, and this is what I did, and I keep my buddy Mike, who's playing in my home game, keeps getting the benefit of the doubt on my rulings. Okay, I mean, I ruined my game, but I don't. I'm not gonna have I don't need the whole card. So anyway, this is an assumption. I'm not stating that Justin had access to the whole cards, but it was revealed by somebody who was very familiar with the production that there was at least one manager who was getting the live feed. Now, who was that manager? The host of the game is the manager of the game, so it could have been the host. It could have been the GM of Stones. That would constitute a manager. But okay, so there's a manager. When I was listening to Veronica's interview, and Joe Ingram never asked Veronica, the point blank question. Listen, does Justin get? Does he have access to the live feed? She may or may not know the answer to that question, but I think she would know because um, she would know. Um, yeah, she would. I think she would know. I think she would know. And as if that wasn't enough, the head of security was also getting a copy of the live feed. So I just want to kind of clarify. I think in the past, somewhere along the way, I may have said or insinuated that the live feed was going to the booth, and that maybe Justin had access to the booth audio. Um, that wouldn't have made any sense. But if Justin could communicate with whoever was in the control room, who clearly had a live feed, and he could talk to him in real time on his headset through some walkie-talkie type, it didn't even have to be a phone call, it could just be however they communicated, you know, it wouldn't be so difficult for um, Justin to get the whole car information or whatever information that he may need if he had an inside in the control room, and then he could then forward that information to whoever he wanted to forward that information to. So, I'm just throwing out some possibilities. I'm not making any accusations here. No one knows. No one's asked that question. But I think that, that could kind of get down to, you know, solving this case if we can get answers to those specific questions.